Okay, so you want to move on to the next thing now, Jamie?
Can we talk about the yellow? Because we talked about it sort of representing, like, reminiscent of, we talked about, like, the gesture of doing the yellow as, like, blood, but it also sort of representing, like, the sun.
Yes. And now we've got yellow.
So now I am mixing new colors. Because I was thinking... Okay, I was thinking that... a word and a theme that kept coming up in the articles, like topic-wise, was angel.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we can somehow add, like, abstract angel, or just angel wings somehow, like covering both hoodies.
Okay. I want to talk with you about that.
Okay.
I'm totally cool with the idea, but I also feel like we should... I do think that we should start to think about what it is that we're putting into the painting and where and what that represents the critique of the articles.
Right.
Like, in a sense, I feel like, in a sense, the topic's there.
Yeah.
In a sense. I'm not saying that we can't do the angel wings. I'm not saying maybe that's should frame it or something. You know what I mean? But I also feel like we did these really big, bold things that, like, address the topics in both the articles. But now I do feel like I feel like we as researchers / artists need to push our thinking a little bit.
Okay. So as I was talking about the angel wings, I was also thinking that you and I talked about how the ball article is, did we already say this on camera? That it's that both of us sort of agreed that it feels like, how is that impacting? We were asking ourselves as researchers, as people who care about humanity, how does this article impact the world?
Right.
And how does this kind of research impact the world? And we both sort of agreed that, like, that was an issue. As much as we like reading the article and feel like engaged in the information, we both feel a little bit personally disconnected from that if it's not going to have an impact outside of the genre it is written for.
Right.
So thinking about the painting and our work today, how can we make something that reaches everybody so it makes sense? Because right now this is abstract work that we've just explained to you based on the colors and the gestures of the way that we use the brush.
Right.
But how symbolic or representational or narrative does the piece have to be in order for us to feel like we're reaching a larger audience, if that is a commitment of ours?
And my feeling on that, well, I think that's a great point in terms of the critique of the article. Yes, absolutely. And B, in terms of the painting, in my own estimation of it, I think that it's okay if it's not representational. But I think that every choice that we make, whether it's representational or non-representational, should be like a code, the equivalent of like a code, and so that it can be translated, and that like if there's going to be a card next to the painting, or like the title card or whatever, it would have the key. It would have a key, so it would be decipherable. So that it would be able to talk outside of just an abstract situation. So it would be able to communicate outside of its own milieu. In my book, that would be good enough for me. Like,
I'm
in
with
terms
you.
of, you know what I mean? Because that's
Yeah.
so much more than a lot of non-representational art. I love non-representational art, but I mean, it's very rare that, a lot of times, the way that people actually get that a lot of times in art galleries is when a guide brings you through, and the guide explains to you certain significances that helps you decode the work, but we can also provide that to people too. So that to me is like, as long as everything has a significance and we know and we're choosing it consciously, then that's good enough for me. But I think that so I think that's how I think this is a really important point.
Yeah.
What we're saying, because that's how in this work we're addressing the critique of the article. That we're going to make sure that our work is coded and that the codes are defined so that it can speak.
Oh,
That's okay.
It's
Outside of its own.
a skeeter.
That's
It bit you.
So that it can speak outside of.
I didn't get paint on you.
That's okay.
There's blood on his neck from the mosquito.
But what's the other thing? The other thing is that what we also said about the ball article. Ooh, I feel it.
Yeah, don't itch it. It's gonna.
It's awful.
Sorry.
There was one other thing about that article that we said that it didn't. The other critique was that that article doesn't really triangulate the data collection methods. I thought that would have helped
If they had other sources for data.
if they had other sources of data. Yeah. If they had other sources of data. Whereas the Pantulaki article had both interview and content analysis of the primary sources. But the Ball article, just content analysis of primary sources. Of basically one primary source. Pretty much. So how would we do, so let's talk, so there's a critique. Just, that's one piece, one thing. That's one aspect of critique. So, two things we know, every decision we make, it has a reason and a definition. That's how we're addressing it. Next thing is
We're addressing
One-
the problems and the
Right.
methodology.
right. So, but one other critique is one article triangulates data, the other one does not. How could we represent? How can we make? What decision could we make artistically to represent that? Maybe that's. I mean, the data.
We could
that's where
look
we
up-
could maybe we can bring the angel in there.
Maybe, or we could look up the shape of the Bermuda Triangle and draw an abstract shape of the Bermuda Triangle.
Are you being facetious?
No, I'm not being facetious.
Okay.
I'm being totally serious.
Okay. But why the Bermuda Triangle?
Because it triangulate the data.
Oh my God, that's funny.
You know, like, it's so typical to, like, think about, like, splitting the canvas. You know, this side is going to represent this article, and that's, like, boring.
Right. We don't have to do it like that.
I'm just thinking about
that. But like maybe.
So maybe an angel.
One thing
So-
we need to represent is the data, or data sources.
Well, and not the data sources, but just that there's a difference in both the way that the authors used data sources.
Right. So how can we visually? I mean, there's a difference. Yeah, and they don't. It doesn't.
I mean, maybe it's like so since an angel is part of both themes, arguably, thematically, we can guide that in the decision making that we make and how we represent the angel within the lens of data collection. So like maybe we split the angel. So like maybe one side of the wings, if we just do wings, let's say they're like abstract wings, like a wing here, a wing here, and maybe one side are these like very colorful wing, and then the other one, or one is like super colorful and vibrant and more detailed, and then the other one is like one color and sort of like melting, like thematically with the yellow that's melting.
Cool.
Does that work? And then we need to think about the narrative of the colors, very specifically, which colors should be in which side.
Right.
You know, we can think about warm and cool colors, earth tones and water tones, or
Yeah. I like the two sides of the wings. I mean, and yeah, I like the two sides of the wings.
okay.
I do. And what I mean, and we can say, I don't know. I think, yeah. Essentially, one of the articles used two different data sources, interview and content. Different pieces of content. And then the other article mostly just used the artwork itself.
So what colors belong to which?
Well, it seems like I mean, primary colors are really great for representing the children's artwork. Because that just felt, especially the Disney characters, it felt very primary color to me. Even though they weren't all primary. But, what color do interviews? What color represents interviews, black and white? Because it's documentary. So maybe what one half of the angel wing uses like primary colors and black and white,